You know, out of all the Royal Knights, I feel like Alphamon, Lord Knightmon, Jesmon, Gankumon, and Omnimon get a lot of love. But after my in-depth testing with Agumon Bond of Bravery and finding a neat little yellow engine that worked in conjunction with the trashing mechanics of reppamon and gatomon, I set my sights on whether the same application could be applied to Royal Knight Digimon like Kentaurosmon and Dynasmon. And in regards to those two knights, Kentaurosmon definitely has a better time utilizing this engine. Today's deck profile video explores Kentaurosmon, and boy, I thought Agubond already had a fun time navigating security. While you may think I'm crazy for playing Kentaurosmon, objectively this Royal Knight Digimon offers an alternative way for players to play the game. But besides that, when it comes to immunity in the Digimon card game, there are some Digimon who can maintain immunity up to their own turn. As a result, lingering effects like stun or DP reduction can be extremely useful. And boy, can this deck do a lot of DP reduction. Per the usual, the narrative of today's video will explore key cards in this deck, and explain why they're used before diving into some combos, potential mulligan hands, and last but not least, the overall deck profile. And returning right off the bat in today's video are going to be the key cards BT15 Gatomon, BT22 Reppamon, and of course Revelation of Light. These three cards are crucial pieces for the deck, because as you're trashing your security for various card effects, these give you free bodies to the board to utilize. That being said, Gatomon offers a lot of memory control from her effect that gains you a memory on all turns when your security is removed from once per turn. Reppamon offers control that's optional to increase the DP reduction by more if you want to trash the top security card, and Revelation of Light offers a glean into your security, potentially playing a level 4 or lower yellow Digimon from the top, and also sets itself as the top security card if you have Kari Kamiya in play. Which is why of course with this build, we're running with the Tai Kamiya and Kari Kamiya again with this build, along with the BT15 Kari when it's trashed. That being said, because of Kentaurosmon's awesome effect that places a yellow card on top of the security, the BT8 Kari also works double time as well for not only setting your memory, but gaining a memory when your security is added too. While these are some of the memory recursion aspects, and the utilization of Revelation of Light can help you recover your security, this deck of course returns to utilizing the previously mentioned white option cards from the Bond deck profile with Island of Adventure and Genai's House. Island of Adventure of course lets you take the top security card of your deck and place this as the top card. When it's hit in security, you get to play a tamer, whether it be Kari Kamiya, Tai Kamiya and Kari Kamiya, or even Richard Sampson. But why Genai's House? While true Agumon Bond of Bravery could utilize this option card well as the last security, and create the interaction of placing an Agumon in play in preparation of the Bond of Bravery Ace play, there is no Kentaurosmon Ace, and no Bond that can be used with this deck. That being said, the promo Kudamon has a very nice interaction with this, as you can play this Digimon, return one Kentaurosmon from trash to the bottom of the deck, and recover one. Which means if Genai's House is the last card in your security, and you have a Kentaurosmon and this level 3 in the trash, you can stave off one more attack. And because we're on Kudamons, this means we can utilize the awesome power of Richard Sampson to warp Digivolve into any of our Kentaurosmon for the Hail Mary play. Largely, the combos for this deck play similar to the Yellow-Red Bond of Bravery, in which you're building primarily to a level 4 that chips with Gatomons or controlling the board. Security knowledge can be helpful with your various cards, which means in your opening hand, if you can open Patamon, this is a great snap keep regardless of the other cards in your hand. However, for a balance of cards, Patamon and or Kudamon helps with a raise in the back and a surge off the top. Any hand that holds a level 3 in Gatomon though was a definitely snap keep for me. In some test games, Memory Fixer Kari and any number of Revelations is also fine. As mentioned going first, going into your Patamon in your opener and then playing a card that costs 2 like Island of Adventure or Genai's House is a fire opening. Because when you promote, hopefully you have a level 4 in the security that Patamon can Digivolve into. But if there isn't, this is where having one in your hand can also be fine with Digivolving into. Early game, you're trying to keep the memory at 1 or 2 for your opponent, and controlling the board with Reppamons or the Revelation of Lights. Should you be able to locate a chirinmon, you can trash the top card of your security to even your Kentaurosmon at a reduced cost, and recover 1 from the hand. However, if you're unable to find chirinmon, this is where setting up your Richard Sampsons is extremely helpful. Because should you promote out Kudamon with a Kari Kamiya, Richard Sampson in play, and a total of 6 security between both players, you can utilize Richard Sampson's effect to warp Digivolve Kudamon into Kentaurosmon for its Digivolution cost, before utilizing its effect to stack a card to the top of security. Because of Kari Kamiya, you can then also gain 1 memory if it's the BT8 version. And of course, because you suspend Richard for the warp Digivolve, this also lets you draw a card off of Koromon's effect. And while these are the basic Digivolution lines, the amount of DP reduction that this deck can do is absolutely disgusting. Attacking with this Kentaurosmon means that with Kudamon's effect, you can DP reduce one of your opponent's Digimon by 2000 DP. Then with Kentaurosmon's effect, you might be on the BT13 one that can trash the top security for a 7000 DP reduction. And assuming you placed a reppamon on top, you can then play that Digimon out and trash the next security for another 6000 DP reduction. And if that card trashed was the new chirinmon, that's another 8000 DP reduction. Meaning in total, your opponent's Digimon is downgraded by 23,000 DP. But while this is the maximum DP that you could reduce, you could also be trashing cards like Revelation of Light for a blanket DP reduction. While it's interesting that Black Wargreymon Ace could be immune by all of this, even the BT22 Kentaurosmon's DP threshold wouldn't be enough, so the immunity here is inactive, and you could be DP reducing it out of existence. Largely, the deck profile has been discussed, but for a brief card by card, Koromon serves as the ultimate egg for this build due to the number of tamers that suspend pending their conditions are met. At times you could even avoid attacking and drawing into pieces first to climb higher into your chain. But for the level 3s, this is where things do get a little interesting. While Patamon is not a vaccine trait Digimon, its effect to Digivolve into any level 4 from the security for free is valuable. Once complete, it places a yellow vaccine card back into the security, which it procs its own inheritable. But the reasoning for so many kudamons is ultimately because of the need for them in combination with Richard Sampson's effect to warp into Kentaurosmon. While you could evo into them conventionally from 3 to 4 to 5, not having that piece can be problematic. Because of this, your BT13 kudamons are the ultimate searcher of the deck, with the 2-2 split on the promo that can recover 1 by returning Kentaurosmon from the trash to the bottom of the deck, and the one that costs 4 that can play a yellow tamer if both players have a combined total of 6 security. These are some very cheeky plays. For the level 4s, outside of the MVP Gatomon for memory tricks and reppamon for control, the one copy of GeoGreymon adds another level of checking out your security and playing tamers from there for free. While not as effective when not using the red-yellow Agumons, the evo cost for this Digimon can be free with Patamon. In some other testing, I did look at other reppamons, but honestly, the free body value is just too nice. Though one must also be wary of building too wide, in the case against players who utilize medieval Gallantmon. Level 5s, this variant of the list only utilizes the BT22 chirinmon, mainly because this deck profile looks to maximize the value from cards being trashed via effect. While you could run the chirinmon from BT13, who has an inheritable that plays Kudamon on deletion, the other aspect of this card does provide barrier. Though the EX5 variant does allow more security recovery and can potentially create super aggro conditions in combination with barrier gatomon. That being said, I haven't tested this, because I found more enjoyment with Richard Sampson and warping Kudamons to Kentaurosmon. As for Kentaurosmon, the newest BT22 variant is the primary 4 of because of its defensive capabilities. And while it might cost you 2 or 3 security for a double blocker barrier body, it can also be played for a cost of 6 if the sum of both players' security is 6. This means whether you can't warp from Kudamon or can't find the level 5, hard slamming with the memory gaining abilities of all your tamers is also easily worth it. Meanwhile, the old BT13 Kentaurosmon does provide more control elements. But for your super top end, this is where I went with Shine Greymon Ruin mode, because this Digimon can blanket board the field of a 5000 DP reduction on Evo and when it's deleted. This deck also serves as a reminder to your opponent to constantly ask what the DP reduction on the board is, because if you DP reduce the board by 5000 or 10,000 DP, that Revelation of Light is going to make it even more rough. However, for an alternative because of the number of tamers, Shine Greymon Burst Mode Ace is also a viable candidate, especially if you're hard slamming your Kentaurosmon down as a blocker. Option card wise, again, it's the standard 4 Revelation of Lights, along with 2 copies of each of Island of Adventure and Genai's House. I had experimented with yellow scrambles, but ultimately I didn't find them as beneficial as the other cards in this list. And as always, the tamers for this deck are Tai and Kari for extra memory once both players hit 3, Kari Kamiya's for memory fixing, and Richard Sampson for that warp ability to Kentaurosmon. In many ways, there were similar elements to the Bond of Bravery deck, but when it comes to this Royal Knight, I feel like this is the way Kentaurosmon was meant to be played. It just needed more testing. Generally, do you think Kentaurosmon feels better now as a deck, or do you think I've been living life on the edge too much lately with these yellow decks? Interestingly, after testing Bond of Bravery and Kentaurosmon, Naturally, I took to exploring Dynasmon with this engine as well, but I haven't found a cohesive strategy that I like yet. After all, Warp digivolving a bond from Agumon or Kudamon Kentaurosmon is something that is worthy of its own discussion, but Dynasmon doesn't have it. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you on more content this week. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.